Dash here for the Heavy Hockey Postgame show for April 16th versus the Las Vegas Knights. Cowboy style. The Vegas Knights steal the flame in Calgary and head north up the QE2, where the heat was quickly cooled off after arrival at the Ice District. Mike Smith becomes the 7th goalie in NHL history to score back-to-back shutouts over the age of 40. Let me tell you something. This is exactly how I predicted this game was going to go down. In fact, this is the 4th or 5th time that I've predicted the exact score this season, but this time I really nailed it. Can you roll that footage at Heavy Hockey Head Studios? Thanks. Okay, you two. I've got to run into Roger's place here pretty soon, and before I head in, I would like to remind you that the Oilers are undefeated while I'm in the building this season. So, any family predictions?
Oilers 4, Vegas 1.
I'm not going to follow that up. I'm just going to go with what Mom said. 6-4, Oilers.
Wow. 6-4 for Tom. 4-1 for Mrs. Dursa. Mike's not going to go against his mom. I don't really want to either, but I'm going to take Mom's prediction and step it up one step further and say it's going to be same score as last game, 4-0, with Mike Smith getting back-to-back shutouts. Let's say the PK scores again, and Kris Russell gets the game-winning goal. Connor and McDavid, both pointless. Book it. Did I nail it or what? Honestly, I said exactly what would happen. Now, I know that's a pretty predictable outcome for the Oilers, but let me tell you, what I saw in this game was, I'd say, a bit of a feeling out process to start out. You know, the Oilers had some scoring chances at the beginning. They just didn't get any shots on net. They didn't get it quite to the net. Whereas I think after those first few quick opportunities, Las Vegas really kind of took the rest of the first period over. I thought they were the better team in the first period until Cowboy decided to score his first goal of the season and get us to a point where we were ahead. And the Oilers do very well when we are ahead. One of the best records with Colorado in the NHL when scoring first. So at that point in time, it really caused Las Vegas to loosen up their game over time. So I thought as the second period progressed, the momentum started to shift back into the Oilers' favor, where the more that Las Vegas started to loosen up their play and loosen up on the forecheck and start to cheat a little bit, I found that the Oilers almost treated them like a bit of a boa constrictor and just kept tightening their grip with every little bit that Vegas had to, depart from their system. So perfect type of execution, perfect foot on the throat for a team that's in our division. I thought the goods for this game were glaring, not a lot of bad to pick out. So maybe I'll just give you a few goods. How can you not start with the goaltending? Mike Smith was unbelievable. And can you say that we are actually saying this as Oilers fans after, where we were 2 weeks ago and back in March when Oilers fans were clamoring for Mike Smith to be on the LTIR for this year and next. And, Holland rolled the dice this year and he knew he was doing so. He knew that going back to Koskinen and Smith for another season was a bit of the roll of the dice, but he did have confidence that if he had this tandem going at the right time and both at a competitive state at the right time, that he'd be okay. I just bet you that Ken Holland didn't think that it was going to take him 75 games for his goalies to get there. Mike Smith is 6-0 since the beginning of the month, and since that Calgary game, he's got something like a 997 save percentage or 96 something save percentage over that time, and looks to be coming into form like we need him right at the time we need him. I love what he brings to the team in leadership, and I love what he brings to the team in his stick handling abilities, and I think he really helps us against these teams where they have a strong forecheck like the Nashvilles and the Minnesotas, and and tonight earlier today against Las Vegas. I honestly thought one of the differences in the 3 games was how Koskinen handles the forecheck versus Minnesota against how Smith handles the forecheck versus Nashville and Vegas. So really, really great to see Smith doing that at a time we need him to. Another great for me, or a good for me, was Yamamoto's hustle and his grit. He's blocking shots, friendly fire and the other teams. He had a couple of instances where his back checking was at an absolute elite level. How can we talk about goods without going on to talk about the penalty kill? Man, 2 straight games with a shorty. In the last 12 games, our penalty kill has scored 3 goals and only surrendered 2 power play goals against. It is clipping at an absolute great pace, and right at the right time of the season, we need that as well. Another good for me, and pretty hard not to point out, would be Warren Foegele. I thought that his play and his opportunities have picked up as of late. And according to the Cult of Hockey, after Hyman and JP, Foegele is third amongst Oilers wingers in contributions to 5v5, high danger scoring chances. And the Oilers are 10-0-2 in games where Foegele scores. So nice to see, a guy that can play good 5-on-5 hockey and play gritty hockey, doing it at the time we need it to. So it really feels like things are coming together right when we need at the right time. And what's better than that as we go into the playoffs? It's giving the team confidence, giving the fans confidence. My super stat of the game, if you will, it kind of turned into a Dash's number of the night. If this was a game that was in Vegas, I would have suggested that Jay Woodcroft need to head to the roulette table and bet it all on number 4. We win 4-0 for the second straight game. Cassian, number 44, gets his 4th point against the Knights this season, his 4th PIM against the Knights this season. It's Mike Smith's 44th career shutout, and it gives the Oilers 44 wins on the season. Which leads right into our heavy hockey moment of the game. There was a lot of opportunities to hand it out, but I think for the second game in a row after his bone-crushing hit versus Nashville, Kris the highlight reel Russell gets tonight's heavy hockey moment of the game. Cowboy gets his first Geno since 2019, which has been 125 games and 1,126 days in between. Quite the feat for a guy, and he just doesn't do it in garbage time. What does he do? He comes up against our biggest division rival in the moment with 7 games left in the season, and he scores the game-winning goal. Not a big deal. Attaboy, Cowboy. Moving forward, this puts the Oilers 4 points up on LA, and the Knights 4 points behind Dallas for the final wildcard spot. We have a game in hand versus the Los Angeles Kings, and the Oilers remain in the same spot that they've been for the last few weeks, with the highest probability being that they end up playing the LA Kings in the first round. It looks like the way things are going, we may have home ice advantage, so let's hope it stays that way. We finish off this 3-game homestand with Dallas on Wednesday and Colorado on the 22nd for Mike Dursa's birthday, I might add. And I believe the keys to that game will end up being the goaltending. Alluding to what I said earlier, I believe that Mike Smith makes a massive difference for our team when it comes to how we handle a forecheck. And with the Dallas Stars coming into town, that's another hard forechecking team. So what I'd actually like to see Woodcroft do is roll Smitty out for his 3rd straight. He's scorching red hot right now after coming off 120 or 30 minutes of scoreless hockey. Let's see if he can keep it going for one more game, handle the puck behind the net delicately and efficiently, which takes a lot of pressure off the defenseman for those forechecking Dallas Stars forwards. And maybe then we can roll Koskinen out back to Colorado for the Colorado game, which I don't mind because I think Koskinen just potentially had one of his best games of the season against Colorado last week. So confidence there to have them go. So if it all ends up going that way and Woodcroft takes my advice, and he obviously does because he's listening to the show,
We go with Smith against Dallas, and we go with Koskinen against Colorado. I'm going to say that we cap off the 3-game winning streak after beating Dallas, and then take Colorado to overtime, but likely lose to McKinnon in overtime. But another nice game from Koskinen in the meantime. That pretty much wraps everything up for tonight's edition of the postgame show. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Thanks a lot for being fans, listeners, or watchers of Heavy Hockey. If you're watching this on YouTube and you haven't shut this off yet, please click the subscribe button when you eventually do shut it off. And, we just really appreciate all the support. That's it for this Heavy Hockey postgame show. See y'all soon.